God and the Law. Chapter 9, The Longest Trial. In September 2005, the Arizona trial of Bill Kratz and Tom Grabinski finally began. It was the longest criminal trial in the state's history. A mountain of evidence consisting of over 1 million pages of documents. Kratz sat at the defense table, still radiating an air of persecuted holiness. His lawyers argued that if the state hadn't shut the BFA down, the miracle would have happened. They claimed the rising real estate market would have eventually covered all the losses. It's irrelevant, argued the state. A lie is a lie the moment it is told. You cannot build a kingdom on a foundation of fake profits. The jury agreed. Kratz and Grabinski were found guilty of fraud and illegally conducting an enterprise. Kratz was sentenced to 8 years, Grabinski to 6. But the victory felt like ashes to the victims. I wanted him to go to jail, Bill Anderson said, his voice weary. But it doesn't bring back the years he stole from us. Chapter 10, Ashes and Faith. The collapse of the Baptist Foundation and the crimes of Dr. Michos left a scar on the soul of their communities. Robert Shaw is still struggling to find his way back to a Christian relationship with God. The betrayal by the church leadership had cut deeper than the loss of his $250,000. Katie Moss, who had trusted the hymns and the handshakes, now attends a non-denominational church. I sure lost my faith in Southern Baptists, she said. I won't go back. The story of the BFA and Dr. Michos is a reminder that greed doesn't always look like a villain in a movie. Sometimes it looks like a man in a pulpit quoting the gospel. Sometimes it looks like a doctor offering a cup of tea. The dessert still shimmers. The wind still blows through the streets of Chicago. And the altar of avarice still stands, waiting for the next soul to take a leap of blind faith. The end, taken on faith. A chronicle of sin and deception. Prologue, the mirage in the valley. The Arizona sun was a relentless judge, an ancient eye that brooded over the Mojave with a scorching, indifferent gaze. In the summer of 1982, it baked the asphalt of Phoenix until the streets bled heat, and the horizon shimmered with the promise of water that didn't exist. This was the Valley of the Sun, a place built on the audacity of turning a wasteland into an oasis, a monument to human will and the desperate hope of those seeking a second chance. It was a city of rebirth. People arrived with their pasts packed into dusty suitcases, looking for a future under a sky that never seemed to end. They sought comfort in the cool, air-conditioned sanctuaries of white-steepled churches, where the smell of old hymnals and floor wax offered a familiar peace. But in the shadows of the soaring cigarros, and within the hallowed halls of the Southern Baptist Convention, another kind of mirage was taking shape. It wasn't born of light and heat, but of carefully crafted words and impossible promises. It was built on the most powerful, most volatile currency in the human heart, faith. For the congregants, Faith was the foundation of everything. It was the whisper in the morning prayer, the warmth of a neighbor's hand during the doxology, and the absolute, unwavering certainty that if you gave to God, God would provide. Bill Kratz understood this better than anyone. As he stood at the pulpit of the foundation, his suit sharp and his eyes burning with a vision that seemed to descend from the heavens themselves, he didn't just see a congregation of believers. He saw a machine, a magnificent, golden machine fueled by the life savings of the elderly and the dreams of the middle class, designed to turn humble tithes into a kingdom of gold for the Lord. He called it wise stewardship. The world, in the cold light of justice, would eventually call it something else. Part I, The Golden Harvest. Chapter 1, The Architect of Dreams. Bill Kratz was 34 years old when he took the reins of the Baptist Foundation of Arizona BFA. At an age when most men were still finding their footing, Kratz carried himself with the gravitas of a patriarch. To the outside world, he was a brilliant attorney with an uncanny knack for real estate. To the Southern Baptist Convention, he was nothing short of a financial messiah. He didn't merely walk into a room, he commanded it. He had a way of leaning in when he spoke, a subtle lowering of his voice that made every widow feel like she was his only confidant, and every ambitious businessman feel like he was part of a sacred, high-stakes brotherhood. The Lord doesn't want us to be poor, brothers and sisters, Kratz would say, his baritone voice echoing through the fellowship halls of Phoenix, rich and smooth like expensive honey. He wants us to be builders. He gave us the parable of the talents not to teach us to hide our light, but to multiply it. Why should the secular banks institutions built on greed reap the harvest of your hard-earned sweat? Why not let that harvest feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and build a sanctuary for our seniors? His vision was seductive, a perfect blend of spiritual duty and financial gain. The BFA would take the investments of church members' money meant for retirement, for a grandchild's college fund, for the security of an uncertain future, and reinvest it in the exploding Arizona real estate market. The profits would be split, a high interest rate for the investor, and a massive, ongoing donation for Baptist causes. It was a win-win. It was a blessing. It was, as the glossy brochures claimed in bold, gold-embossed letters, profiting for God. But in the quiet of his corner office, surrounded by topographical maps of raw desert land and blueprints for commercial developments, Kratz saw the numbers that the investors didn't. He saw the debt starting to pile up like dry brush. He saw the market beginning to stall. And most importantly, he saw that the machine he had built required more fuel, more money just to stay in motion. The visionary was becoming a gambler, and he was betting with other people's souls. Chapter 2. The Anchor and the Miracle. In a modest ranch-style house on the outskirts of Phoenix, Bill and Pat Anderson sat at their small oak kitchen table. The morning sun filtered through the blinds. highlighting the worn edges of several BFA brochures spread out before them. For the Andersons, life had been a series of hard-won victories. Bill had spent 40 years as a plant manager, a man of precise measurements and logical outcomes.